As every Sopranos fan knows, Tony has a history of letting his temper get him into trouble, and he is furious right now. He walks into Coco, a powerful gangster in the Lupertazzi family's restaurant, and begins to beat him mercilessly, while also pulling a gun on another influential gangster, Butch DeConcha. He continues beating Coco while ignoring Butch's warnings, and for his grand finale, he almost kills Coco. What would drive Tony to commit this act that could and did have such disastrous consequences? In a show known for its foreshadowing, Tony called this one in the wake of Allegra Sacramoni's wedding when he said,
"Look, when it comes to daughters, all bets are off."
In this case, it was Coco's harassment of Meadow while she was out on a date. Making it abundantly clear that he knew who her father was, Coco wiped imaginary whipped cream off her face while saying he would gladly add to it, and even got into it with her date, Patrick Parisi, before being coaxed out. Upon finding out about the incident, Tony is understandably enraged, but attempts to remain calm in front of Meadow and even tries to comfort her. In possibly yet another instance of dark foreshadowing, he tells her,
"It's okay. He's an idiot. But he's harmless."
because that is exactly what he will be very soon. So anyone can understand why Tony was angry enough to take such a drastic action, but on this episode of Soprano Street, we will examine whether or not he did the right thing according to the so-called mob code of ethics. Now, this is an interesting situation to examine because it's not as straightforward as it appears at first sight. There are several incidents within the incident, so to speak, and conflicting principles in the code will come into play. So today we will examine the different situations and how the code would apply on both sides, using examples from real life and the series to see if we can determine whether or not Tony was up to code. As always, we will take a second to address the practical implications of this action on Tony's families, both blood and mafia, before moving on to the different aspects involving the code. In regards to his blood family, the first thing to address is that Meadow might not have wanted that. Not everyone does. When Linda Scarpa, daughter of the Grim Reaper Greg Scarpa, had her own encounter, her father predictably responded in the same vein as Tony despite her wishes.
That wasn't good enough for Scarpa. Days later, he tracked down the driver. In the driver's car, the mobster finished the job.
Next thing I know, my father told me that I never had to worry about him again. And he was gone. I was not happy about that. I didn't want the guy to get killed.
Similarly, Meadow has a history of not wanting people to get hurt dating back to Coach Hauser.
I'm losing my fucking mind here.
Tony, go downstairs, will you please, so me and Meadow can talk?
Jesus fucking Christ!
God, now what did I do?
And initially, didn't even want to bring Tony into the conversation.
Don't say anything.
Even after letting Tony in on what happened, she leaves out the "I'll add more" part of Coco's comment at the point when the conversation when it would have come up and shuts down entirely. Now, while Tony didn't hurt nobody in the Coach Hauser incident, Meadow is well aware of who her father is and where that conversation was headed, so she just shut down. As far as its impact on his blood family as a whole, the Mafia usually leaves them alone. Unfortunately, Lupertazzi family boss Phil Leotardo already has a contentious relationship with New Jersey and with Tony specifically, so the potential is certainly there. Phil Leotardo even went so far as to threaten Tony's nephew Christopher.
Maybe one of your other relatives, then.
What, I gotta stand here being threatened now?
Chris is also in the mob, however, so that's not quite the same thing, but it does bring us to the action's practical impact on his mob family. Put bluntly, the Jersey mob was put in great jeopardy by Tony here. Tensions with New York had been rising for a while, and the violence to go along with it. Although all-out war had been avoided, with this act, New Jersey was thrust into a war it had no chance of winning. Tony had brought great risk to the family for no mob-related reasons or justifications. Possibly. In order to evaluate mob justifications, it's time we dig into the incident in terms of the Mafia Code. The smaller incidents leading up to Coco's beating were all both in character and seeming in line with mob protocol. As tensions increased, Tony canceled several no-show jobs, including Coco's. A standard move. Coco becomes enraged and beats up the foreman, takes his money, and tells him that Tony Soprano owes it back to him. Now, despite the fact that it was not the foreman's fault, nor could he do anything about it, everything still seems to follow the code to the point that it should have been expected.
He hurt my appraiser. What was I supposed to do? It's on page 4 of the boss manual, John. Jesus.
So far, it appears everyone is acting exactly how they're expected to under the circumstances, but when Coco spots Meadow on a date, things start getting murky. As mentioned before, families were considered off limits, and this was especially true when it comes to wives and daughters. Both Paul Castellano and Anelia Delacroce are known to have killed guys due to the treatment of their daughters, and in the show, Johnny Sack wanted Ralphie killed for just making a joke about his wife.
I want you to sanction the hit on Ralph Cifarello.
What? Are you fucking kidding me?
He violated my wife's honor.
Ralph slept with Jenny?
He insulted her. He made a very insensitive joke about her body to some friends of ours.
And while Carmine turned him down, his reasoning was purely financial. He had no problem with it in principle, as demonstrated when Tony offered Ralphie up to Johnny Sack if he would provide the corroboration, which he wouldn't.
I want to avenge her honor. This is my right to do.
All right, fine. You tell me who told you about it. We'll bring him in here. He corroborates what you're saying. I'll give you Ralph on a platter.
Either way, it was still serious enough of a charge to slap Ralphie with a very hefty fine without it. It's important to point out that Patsy Parisi's son Patrick was there as well. While this probably had no influence on how mad Tony was, it's important to note in this point in the conversation because it adds yet another no-no onto Coco's resume. So at this point, Coco is clearly in the wrong, but Tony's response is where things really start to get complicated. This is the point where many of the conflicting principles, obligations, and interests of the parties involved converge and create a bit of a mafia ethical soup. With so many questions regarding what he did, where he did it, why he did it, etc., 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 I feel it only makes sense for us to start with the most basic question, which is, was Tony allowed to physically retaliate against Coco? Now, it's well known that you are not allowed to hit a made man, and according to both Michael Franzese and Sammy the Bull in a couple of their videos, you can't even accuse one of lying during a meeting. This same dynamic is seen in the series when Tony hits Ralphie after he beat Tracy to death.
This is the boss and his family. Shut the fuck up. I'm a main guy.
Now, I always thought that was a bit odd because Tony's the boss and had the power to order Ralphie killed. So why he wouldn't be able to smack him around, I don't know. But still confirmed that Tony was in the wrong here.
Why did I have to punch this fucking asshole?
Frankly, I was a little surprised.
Oh, you're gonna start on me now? Huh? He disrespected the Bing.
So, he's barred from the place.
He bashed that poor girl's brains in.
I hear you. I know. It was a tragedy. The fact is, though, she was not related to you by blood or marriage. She was not your gumad. Ralphie's a made guy, Tone. All things considered, he's got a legitimate beef.
But in doing so, Sil also opens up the door for the possibility that it would have been justified if he had been related to Tracy, like he is to Meadow. This possibility is also hinted at during the conversation between Carmine and Johnny Sack. One of the statements made by Johnny Sack,
It's nothing sacred. I mean, this is my wife we're talking about here. If this were years ago, would I even have had to ask?
implies that at some point it would have been perfectly acceptable to just kill him over a joke. But, as it was, he did have to ask. Which brings us to the next question, should Tony have just gotten the okay first? Practically speaking, surprisingly, I think he might have actually gotten it. Despite their tense relationship, Phil Leotardo was an old-school gangster that showed a remarkable level of concern with following the code.
No sword and gun on the table?
Phil.
No, Al. Either it has meaning or no meaning.
So there's a good chance that he would subscribe to the rules from years ago that Johnny Sack was yelling about, and with that in mind, perhaps Tony should have just asked permission first. But a bit of mafia schooling from Sammy the Bull Gravano might suggest otherwise. Now, there's a link to the video in the description in case you want to see the entire story, which is very entertaining, and although the stories aren't perfect parallels, this clip could be very applicable in this instance.
When they brought Sammy Mintz in, they said, listen, your crime is that even though he was your cabarajin, You knew what he was doing. You had proof. You came to us. You're a coward. You should have shot him in the fucking head. Killed him. Then came to us and tell us the truth. I killed him because of X, Y, Z. We would have forgiven you and made you the captain. That's the manly thing for you to do. But you didn't do the manly thing. It's your wife. It's your daughter.
Now, there are two ways in which this applies, and the first harkens back to earlier in the video when I said it appeared to be for no mob-related reasons or justifications. While I'm certain that this was not going through Tony's mind at all during the process, he kind of had to react in that fashion to protect the Jersey mob. New York already looked down their nose at New Jersey, and if their boss allowed his daughter to be sexually harassed while out on a date with the son of one of his capos without swift and severe retaliation, all respect would have been lost. The other way in which this clip is applicable puts Tony in the wrong, however, when he says he should have killed him, then come to us. Not killed him in front of us. And Butch was right there. Not only was he right there, but Tony pulled a gun on him. So perhaps you could say Tony's heart was in the right place, but his execution was off. Pun intended. So let's take a look. The potential problems here are either the location, the other people present, or both. So let's start with the location. In real life and throughout the show, tremendous respect is given to locations considered to be connected.
Think you disrespect this place.
Take that shit outside. Don't disrespect the pizza parlor.
That's the tax you get for raising your hands in my game.
And this respect extends even to some non-main guys, as shown when Tony tries to prevent Junior from killing Pussy Malenga in Artie's restaurant. But in this case, the place was Coco's, so that probably wouldn't have been an issue. Unfortunately, Butch was there, and that is an issue. While he did try and get Tony to stop, he never really threatened him and definitely didn't hit him, yet he had a gun pulled on him. The one on Tony's way out could be especially problematic because Butch clearly wasn't a threat and was very obviously done solely as a sign of disrespect. Now, I'm not exactly sure how that applies in terms of the code, but it certainly couldn't have been good in the long run, as Butch will rise quickly in the near future, and that's not something he's likely to forget. Tony may have just created one of the most likely people to have had him killed in that moment. So, like I said, this was an interesting one to get into, and it seems like Tony was kind of in a no-win situation. Let me know down in the comments if you think Tony was right, and if not, how do you think he should have handled it? Well, that does it for this episode on Soprano Street. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next score.